Hello and welcome to the Did Some Wrestling Podcast, and it is SummerSlam week. Biggest party of the summer starts right this weekend. Saturday, NXT TakeOver Toronto, followed by SummerSlam on Sunday. Cannot wait. And the Did Some Wrestling Podcast has you covered, because I'm joined this week by none other than Mags of the Badlands and Why We Watch podcasts. He's going to be doing the predictions with me later on in the show, which is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, but that's the key thing there. I have somebody coming on to join me on today's show. New Direction started last week. Really good feedback from you guys, saying you like the New Direction. So we're going to keep that going. We're going to give you more of what you like. So the voice clips are back. We've got two guys ready to go with their thoughts on Raw and Smackdown. And, Q&As are back as well. So you got all that. And then Mags will join me later for the SummerSlam predictions. Now, there's no messing around today, because the SummerSlam predictions take a lot of time. So we need to dive straight into Monday Night Raw. And, not this again. Come on. I thought you saw this.
Shit, we broke through the firewall! I do not like this. I told you last week, you do not ask. I do not like this at all. You are a jerk. Dude, I did ask. You lie. You did not ask. I did. They said no. That is not true. You are a jerk and a liar. I do not like this. What is this button? Dude, don't press that. This is it. Goodbye. We will never be back. Goodbye.
Right, we got this back. Right, seriously, I don't know who these two idiots are, but no, not on my show. This is not happening again. You know what? I'm going to be the one to sort out the security, because if you want something done right, you do it yourself. So imaginary production guy Brian, or whatever the hell you go by today, who, you're not even in front of me, but that's beside the point. You can bugger off, all right? I've got this. These two clowns are not appearing on this show ever again. I've got this. Oh, boy. Let me just... I'll tell you what, while I'm cooling off from that, let Steph just take you into the Raw highlights. Yep, go on, Steph, take it away.
Welcome to Monday Night Raw!
Well, Raw just keeps on delivering. We had another good week for Raw, and this week was actually a little bit of a different feel. They've changed up the intro. We've got the Papa Roach little theme that they used to use, dotted around the show. That is now the opener. So that was pretty cool. Nice to see that. But the thing I really enjoyed, kicking off the show this week, was Samoa Joe, and it kind of cut out that first little intro video, which I thought was interesting. What's going on here? This doesn't seem, like maybe the timing was off or something like that. But I think it was purposely done, because obviously Joe was out there. He wasn't messing around. He wanted to get his point out, and it was really effective. An effective way to start a show with a promo, but do it this way rather than. Somebody, walk out to the ring, stand there, blah, 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 and then somebody else comes out, and then they say their piece, and somebody else comes out, and it just keeps going like that. The kind of promos I would say know and love, but not quite love. It just seems to be WWE tradition, but that definitely broke the mode this week. And Joe was so... Joe is great on the mic. I say it all the time. Just proclaiming his innocence in the whole Roman Reigns forklift incident, which, absolutely bizarre. And it gets even more bizarre today. No, he was really good, berating the announcers, and it's just something that Joe does that I don't think many other guys on the roster can do as well as he can. I think he is the best at delivering fiery, intense promos. But what a great way to start the show. And he threatened that he would hold up Monday Night Raw if he didn't get his apology. So, well, that comes later on. Then we had, oh my God, Rey Mysterio against Andrade. Now, as soon as you know that them two are going to be squaring off, you know you're going to get a good match. And that's exactly what we got. We got more than a good match. It was great. It really was great. And it just adds to that series that they had on Smackdown Live when they were just faultless. And they pulled it out of the bag once again. And you kind of look at it and go, was this supposed to be on the SummerSlam card? Because the match was the match excelled TV match for me. Like, I thought it was really, really well done. There was some really cool spots in there from both guys. I just wish this was on pay-per-view, but I understand how stacked that SummerSlam card is at the moment. And, you know, sometimes it's good for TV to have a really good match like this. And I'm not going to complain, and I don't think anybody else is going to complain, because, you know, keep these. I mean, they're going to carry on because they threatened the whole the mask thing again. You know, Zelina got involved, so it wasn't a clean win either. So, you know, this thing's going to continue, but will it continue going through to the next pay-per-view? Who knows? But what a match! I mean, that is going to be like match of the week TV wise. I'd imagine so. But no, like, I mean, what great chemistry! Jesus Christ. Now, this one, it is a highlight for me, but it comes with a bit of nah at the same time. Now, Brock Lesnar this week came out, you know, and it's always great to see Brock. You know, it's nice of him to show up as our champion of Monday Night Raw. And he came out, you know, the standard stuff. You know, Paul Heyman does his talking. Brock Lesnar just stands there and looks mean and menacing. Yes, that's what we come to expect. But, you know, after last week, the decimation of Seth Rollins, we did want a little bit more, and stupidly, Seth Rollins decided to come out and take on Lesnar, which, I mean, if you're going to try and make Seth Rollins look stupid and just an absolute idiot, this is the way to do it. He just came out, and what is he doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, that chair is not going to help you. In fact, the chair is helping you, but it's helping you stand up. That thing is helping you get to the ring. Like, do not go in there and attempt to do anything, because you're going to get your ass kicked. And that's exactly what happened. And that is the bit that's a highlight for me. You know, WWE were trying to make us sympathize with Seth, and I didn't get that feeling. I just kind of wanted him to get beaten up again, to be honest. And I don't know what it is. It's just in the last couple of weeks, my interest in Seth has completely dropped off. And maybe it's how he is on, or has been on Twitter, or maybe it was the Becky Lynch angle that he was in, or the whole Corbin stuff. I don't know, but I've gone a bit cold on Seth Rollins. But Brock Lesnar has jumped up from last week, and he's delivered another beating this week. And this is the Brock Lesnar that I like. I like a Brock Lesnar that, you know, he's not just there, you know, to pick up a check. I mean, he is, but he's not there just to pick up a check by just standing there. You know, he again beat the hell out of Seth, and I'm all for it. I really am. And I mean, you'll hear what me and Mags have to say with reference to what might go down at SummerSlam on Sunday. But I mean, give me more of this Brock, really. Honestly, give me more of this Brock that just beast mode Brock. Just doesn't care, just kicks the crap out of everybody. That's my favorite Brock. Ooh. Again, this was a half and a half highlight because, I mean, I love to see The Fiend come in and attack legends, which he has been doing recently. And I was all for it again this week. Obviously, he came out. Kurt Angle was special guest referee to Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander's match. Obviously, that match never got started because they just started fighting outside of the ring. But then The Fiend, the whole, the lights going off and all that kind of stuff. Awesome stuff. But that part there is the highlight because anytime The Fiend comes on, it's still nice and fresh. The fact that it was Kurt Angle, I sympathize for Kurt. So I didn't sympathize for for Seth Rollins tonight, but I did sympathize for Kurt because I love Kurt Angle. And in his hometown. I mean, WWE, come on. It's his hometown. Be nice to him. But it was the fact that the crowd didn't react that well. And that's not any indication of, the perception that The Fiend has now that he's been around, for a couple of weeks. The crowd was dead, all night. Trish Stratus didn't even get a pop at the start of the night when she teamed with Natty against Becky and Charlotte. Didn't even get a pop. There was only really one pop that I heard all night, and we'll get to that. The crowd were terrible. The Fiend has had really good reactions up until this point, and it's a shame because it was a big moment. Kurt Angle, probably the biggest star that he's attacked so far, like legend wise. It's such a shame because the crowd participation and crowd reaction is so important with stuff like this. And I saw it throughout the night. There were certain hot tags that just didn't get anything. So you kind of like when you get a hot tag, it's a hot tag because the crowd, that as soon as the hands slap together and the tag is made, in comes whoever's out on the apron, and the crowd goes nuts for it. And there was a couple of instances in this week's Raw where there was a hot tag made, but the crowd just didn't react, and you were kind of like, Was that actually the hot tag, or was that just a standard tag that we just get, early on in the match? It was a hot tag, believe it or not. So I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but it was very, very noticeable for me. And it kind of ruined a couple of moments throughout the show. And that is perfect. A perfect lead into the next highlight. The whole Joe and Reigns thing. I actually really liked it. Even the awkward, Joe coming out, pleading for Roman to come out and apologize to him, and he just went and picked up a chair, sat in the ring, and it was awkward. He was just sat there. But that was the whole point. He was shutting down Raw, and he shut down Raw. But the crowd, I guess the crowd really don't have anything to react to, but CM Punk chants, come on, guys, you're better than that. Just chant something else. Chant for Roman to come out. Chant for Joe in the ring. Just don't chant feckin' CM Punk. I'm sick of that shit all the time. So Joe, he got tired of waiting. He was told that Roman was literally pulling into the arena, so he went backstage to the parking lot. Call it parking lot. Jesus Christ, I went American there for a short little second. He went to the car park as Reigns was just pulling in. And, they did a little bit of confrontation. And then all of a sudden, Reigns just darts into the car. And then a car swipes him. Now, I was like, hang on, what's going on here? Had the whole forklift thing last week on Smackdown, and now you've got somebody trying to slam a car into him. What is going on? Who is this person that is trying to kill him? I mean, I guess that's the whole point. But the interesting thing coming out of this is not the fact that somebody tried to commit murder live on TV. The interesting thing is that Joe actually helped Roman. As soon as this happened, he was calling for medics. He was, telling Roman, don't get up, stay in the car, just don't move because, you might have really hurt yourself. It was weird, but I kind of liked it because, they have their beef, of course they do. But then, I guess if somebody tries to murder somebody you work with, then maybe that just goes out the window. But personally, I do think that Joe has something to do with it. And, obviously he's just playing up to it. So I don't know if there's going to be something at SummerSlam between the two of them. I am recording this part before Smackdown Live has aired, just to give you a point there. So something might have happened, which I will cover in the Smackdown highlights. But right now, between now and the next 15 minutes, something might change on this episode. But there's nothing going into SummerSlam at the moment, so they might actually end up doing something together, with Joe ultimately turning on him. That's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, I actually enjoyed that segment. I love a whodunit. So I'm intrigued as to where this is going to go. Speculation is that, Daniel Bryan did it or Buddy Murphy. At this point, I don't really care as long as it's something, not absolutely ridiculous. Like, No Way Jose is trying to run down Roman Reigns in the car park. That would be too much. But no, I'm really digging it, actually, despite the strangeness that was the forklift thing last week and how WWE have handled it. The car thing, so much better. Now, this one's a short one because the actual occasion itself and the outcome and all that kind of stuff sucked. But I've got to give the Iconics some love. I mean, they started that tag match really, really well. And it kind of had me questioning, why the hell have they not been doing that from the get-go? Now, I understand they're heel champions, and they're going to try and find ways to get out of matches and all that kind of stuff. But their reign as tag team champions could have been so much more effective if you had the Iconics that we saw in that match on Raw. Easily. They were so good together. A lot of double team offense. Just completely cutting off everybody else. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant to watch. And then they got eliminated first. The champions got eliminated first. I don't even know what to say. It was a bizarre choice for me. Fair enough. They don't want them to be the champions going forward. So Bliss and Nikki ended up winning in the end. But why do it on Raw? Get it on SummerSlam. Again, is there going to be too much time going over on SummerSlam where they can't fit this on the card? Maybe that's the case. But at least have them at least have a team eliminated before them. Because now you've just made them look even worse. I thought they were good champions. I did. It was the booking and, the lack of any direction for them. And, sometimes they didn't even appear on TV for weeks. It was just WWE.com, exclusives, which, is, I've said it before, WWE.com exclusives are some of the best stuff that WWE puts out every single week. And I still stand by that today. But your champions, you have to have on TV. It's as simple as that. Don't make a championship and then just completely, throw it away. You've created all of these teams, to come in, and so many of them we don't see. We didn't see the... I keep going to say Bukkake Warriors, but it's the Kabuki Warriors. How often did we not see the Kabuki Warriors, showing up? And it's a mess. So maybe they're going to hit the reset button now, and we're going to see a bit of a showcase on those titles. And I hope that's the case, and I hope the Iconics can get back in that picture sooner rather than later with the showing that they had on Raw. Have them, on the mic, behind the scenes, regular old Iconics. Perfect. But have them do what they did in the ring on Monday from now on, because it was great. It really was. And it would give that Edge and Christian vibe, because Edge and Christian can mess around and, and be the funny guys, but they could go in the ring. And that's exactly what the Iconics could be. So it's a shame. It really is a shame. And then the final segment of the evening, Miz TV, special guests HBK and Dolph Ziggler. Contract signing for The Miz versus Ziggler at SummerSlam. Didn't quite turn out that way. The Miz was fantastic, as he always is, on the mic. We had a little bit of a Ziggler HBK tease. And if I hadn't... there was rumors about a certain somebody showing up. So if I hadn't seen those, I would have actually genuinely believed they were going with Dolph and HBK. Because the crowd didn't even react. So they must have known as well. Or it just kind of feeds into the fact that the crowd were terrible. But the one time in the evening that the crowd decided that they wanted to react to something was when Goldberg came out, and you could see it coming. It has been rumored, and then the rumors ramped up before the show started that people had seen Goldberg in Pittsburgh. Mega pop. He really did get a good pop. So fair play to him. He's coming back to redeem himself from Super Showdown, because it wasn't really good. That it wasn't the best match that he'll ever take part in, that's for sure. Undertaker's had his chance at redemption at Extreme Rules, and now Goldberg has his chance at SummerSlam against Ziggler. Yeah, it was a cool moment, and it achieved exactly what it needed to achieve. And I actually really loved Goldberg on the mic. It was short and sweet. It was like, Dolph, and then it was just like, guess what, son? You're next. Brilliant. That's all you needed. It was fantastic. It was a really good way to close the show. In fact, that's not how the show closed. The show closed with HBK sweet chin music to Dolph Ziggler on the ramp as he was walking away from Goldberg. Oh, Jesus. Perfect. So the HBK, he's got his own back now on Ziggler. Great stuff. And now Ziggler can go into SummerSlam and take the squash, I'd imagine, against Goldberg. Loved it. And that was Raw for me, highlights-wise. I did actually really enjoy it. It was another good week. It wasn't as good as last week. I think last week was, great. But this week was good. So it remains consistent. I'm still going strong without not liking an episode of Raw, which is good. But of course, we have some tweets from you guys, as always, before we get into the voice clip. So here we go. Stuck in Catering said Dolph Ziggler got squashed by Kevin Owens in about 10 seconds at Extreme Rules, but yet we're supposed to believe he has a chance against Goldberg. I mean, it's a good point, and we probably are going to see another squash. So back-to-back squashes for Ziggler, that's not a good look. So Goldberg has squashed Kevin Owens at Fastlane a couple of years back. Then Kevin Owens squashed Ziggler, and now Goldberg is about to squash Ziggler. Jesus, that was confusing. So it's like it's gone full circle essentially. I don't think nobody is expecting anything more than a squash here. That's for sure. And Dolph won't look bad. He won't look bad coming out of it, I don't think. He's at that point in his career where it doesn't really matter. Shane Gavin said he's delighted Bliss and Cross are the new women tag champs. Hopefully the titles are pushed. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we are seeing a reset of the titles, and we actually see them get a bit of a spotlight now. Don't make a title if you're not going to do anything with it. I mean, that's all I have to say on it, really. Hopefully we see something going forward now. Yeah, absolutely agree, Shane. Absolutely agree. James McHugh, you said Mysterio. Oh, that is his name. What am I talking about? Mysterio and Almas putting on another brilliant match. Yeah, I mean, I've already said it's going to be TV match of the week, without a doubt. Really, really, really good match. I'd say that's my favorite of all of their matches so far. So I want to see another one, and then, leave it for a while, and then if you want to revisit it, I'm not going to complain about that, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. George Selak, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. WWE did nothing with the Iconics tag title run. Shame on them. Such a waste of a good, legit heel team. I do hope that they've kept Billy Kay and Peyton Royce at the front of their plans. They are pure money. I kind of, puts the exclamation point on what I was trying to say. They have been really, really effective, and you just have to hope they can be the next Edge and Christian, but the women's equivalent. They really can. They're more than capable of doing that. So hopefully they do have something planned for them, and it's not just a case of, it's time to drop the belt, ladies, and back of the queue, you're not being on TV for a while, which would be a massive, massive shame. Josh Jackson, another strong Raw last night. Really looking forward to SummerSlam Sunday. There is not a match on the card I am not looking forward to, and you'll find out later in the show, but absolutely, like every single match on the card I am somewhat invested in. Some more so than others, of course, but yeah, the card is absolutely stacked. Justin, Tag Team Tees, said as long as their tag team name isn't the Samoan Joes, I can deal with them as a team for a one-off SummerSlam match. So he's referring to Reigns and Samoa Joe there. I just included that because it was funny. It made the Samoan Joes, imagine. And, I can imagine Vince. It's such good shit. You can just see it. You really can just see it. Kevin Pantoja said, people don't want to admit it, but Raw was actually mostly entertaining for 2 straight weeks. Now, I would actually go further than that and say it's been entertaining for, a good month and a half. But I think, most people have only just started to notice it now. But, which is fair enough. We obviously have, Heyman coming in now and doing his thing. So, it all ties in with that. But yeah, it has been 2 entertaining Raws, on the bounce. But for me, I've enjoyed it, a little bit longer than that. But yeah, they are the tweets, which means it's time for a voice clip. This week's Raw voice clip is provided by Aussie Lucian Blogs and Podcasts. He has a podcast out himself, nice and fresh, Mining for Mayhem, and he has his say on Raw and, of course, the Iconics.
This is BJ from the Mining for Mayhem podcast, and this is your Raw recap. Overall, it was a great episode. You had a return from Goldberg. You had a surprise match between him and Dolph Ziggler set at SummerSlam. You had some awesome comedy segments with Mike Bennett, some sick burns about Mike Bennett, courtesy of the Street Profits. But judging by my accent, you can probably tell I'm Australian, and this is what we're focusing on. Tonight, we laid to rest an iconic title reign. Tonight, we lay to rest the title reign of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Unfortunately, it came to an end just before SummerSlam. To almost get to SummerSlam from WrestleMania is an extraordinary feat. They defended it at every turn possible where they could. What true fighting champions. Unfortunately, they did have a bit of illness, so they couldn't defend it as much as they would have liked. But for where they could, they put their titles on the line and they gave it their absolute all. It was unfortunate that they had to defend it in a fatal four-way elimination match. A little bit unfair. You never saw that sort of match coming from Bayley and Sasha unless it was in the chamber. But that was obviously given pay-per-view. This was just on a casual episode of Raw. Why not leave them till SummerSlam? But all in all, they were fighting champions. They had a great run. Billie and Peyton, may your iconic title run rest in peace.
You know, it actually hurts me a little bit to to hear an Australian have to endure the Iconics loss this week. Josh Robinson, who was on the show last week as well, another Australian, you know, he felt the brunt of it as well. I just feel so sorry for you guys because I'm a fan of the Iconics, but you know, you have that connection with them. So, bless your souls, bless your souls. But no, thank you very much, Aussie Lucian, for supplying that voice clip this week. There will be more next week. Of course there will. It is now the continuing trend for the show. But yeah, that is Raw, nice and wrapped up with a nice little bow. So that leaves us with Smackdown Live. Let's get straight into it. Shane, take it away.
Welcome everyone to Smackdown Live.
Now, what seems to be the trend with Smackdown Live every single week is that it's always a good show, but putting the highlights together seem a lot more harder to do than what Raw is for me. And that's weird because I've always been a SmackDown guy, but I guess with Raw being 3 hours, you know, there's more going on, and they're trying to cram a lot more in. Which is odd, actually. You think you'd be trying to cram more into a 2-hour show than a 3-hour show, but somehow, you know, they seem to achieve that. But nevertheless, I have got some highlights for SmackDown this week, and it was a good show. It was a good show. I really enjoyed it. The voice clip that we're going to get from Wrestle News 365 a little bit later on, you know, he kind of expands on this himself. 90 minutes before SmackDown aired, there was rewrites. I mean, absolutely bizarre. There's no need to be doing that these days. There really isn't. I mean, he'll cover that in his clip, which is great. But highlights-wise for me, Ziggler. Now, I love the whole... I love the fact that he came out with the Goldberg theme, the crowd popped, and then realized that it was Dolphberg and not the Goldberg. The Goldberg, how about that? I really enjoyed that. And then, you know, he beat up Ray before he could get in the ring again. They're trying to make him look strong, and, you know, they achieved it. But some people are going to look at it, you know, what happened in the aftermath of that with Ali coming out. You know, they're going to look at that and kind of go, they're sacrificing, you know, somebody who is in the IC title picture, you know, and completely derailing his momentum just to kind of feed Dolph to Goldberg. And I think it's a fair criticism. It's a fair analysis of, you know, everything that went down. But I still enjoyed it. You know, I mean, as long as I'm enjoying something, I can't complain about it. You know, I did enjoy, you know, the segment. You know, it's a short build between Goldberg and Dolph heading into SummerSlam. So, you know, this achieved what it was supposed to, I guess. Now, something that did achieve a lot, and again, people will complain because Shane got the upper hand. Kevin Owens, the KO show, bringing Shane on. It was fantastic. It really was. Trying to get Shane to put his career on the line. Of course, that's never going to happen. His ego got in the way. But ultimately it ended up with fisticuffs, which is, it tends to be the case with these things heading into a big pay-per-view match. And Shane brought his lackeys in this case, it was Elias. It was good not to see Drew, to be honest. That was refreshing. But of course, Elias was there and helped Shane along. And, Shane, pushed the table on Owens and drop kicked a chair into his head and, carried on the assault. People are going to complain, but I like that going into SummerSlam. And looking at 50-50 momentum, 50-50 booking, and all that kind of stuff that WWE seem to love to do, it looks like Owens is going to win. And I think most people are expecting Owens to win, but imagine if he didn't. Oh dear. You'd have a lot of people very, very unhappy about that. The video package last week, I think it was last week, Randy Orton hyping the WWE title picture, or title match at SummerSlam. Kofi got his own one this week, and it was just as good as Randy's. And it's, again, it's something that WWE excel at, is these video packages, and they really did Kofi some wonders with this thing, made him look really, really good. And it told the whole story, going back, when Kofi was originally getting a push, many moons ago. And it just means that it just adds layers to the story without them even being in the ring, which I think is really cool. And and the fact that they have that backstory means they can do this without sacrificing any of the momentum going into the match at SummerSlam. And I thought it was really enjoyable. I love video packages like that. Aleister Black wrestled on TV. That's a highlight. That's a highlight in its own right. I think gone are the days of him sitting in a dark room. Now he just sits in coffins and cuts promos, which I'm more than happy with because it means he's out in the arena and, potentially he's coming down to the ring. So I'm all for it. I also like the fact that, WWE could have been really tempted just to throw so many more matches on the card. It's pretty stacked already, but they could have thrown, Alistair and Sami in there. They could have thrown Ali Shinsuke in there. A number of other matches could have been thrown in there, but they haven't yet. But I'm glad this was a TV match in the end because, it's good to have a good TV match sometimes, and I thought they did really, really well together, and I'd love to see them do some more work, post SummerSlam. It was a clean win for Alistair, but hey, that doesn't mean it has to end. Do not end the enjoyment of this little feud that they've got on, no matter how short it has been. Let's keep it going. And hey, last but not least, with the Smackdown highlights, we had the tag team match, The New Day versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. It went across 3 segments, which was, it was good that a tag team match, well, not only main evented the show, but had that much time. Very, very enjoyable. You throw those 4 guys in with each other, you're going to get something good coming out of it. And both teams came out of it protected. Rowan caused the DQ in the end. Yeah, it was the right move. They're building Rowan and Daniel Bryan up for something, linked to the Roman Reigns stuff that's going on. And the New Day are the tag team champions, so you don't really want to see them fall at this stage. But yeah, the match was great. I think it was the right outcome. And it fed directly into the closing moments of the show, where Roman Reigns confronted Buddy Murphy, asking him who he saw whilst he was loitering around as Roman was struggling to get out from under the scaffolding. It was revealed by Buddy Murphy that he saw Eric Rowan. He didn't see Daniel Bryan, but he saw Eric Rowan. which obviously means that Daniel Bryan is linked to it. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Whether it has any place on SummerSlam, maybe we see another attempt at murder, who knows? But it's been a while since we've had like a storyline like this. I've always missed the backstage stuff. I mean, backstage stuff now in WWE is mostly an interview. But recently we're seeing more and more stuff starting to occur. Whether that be scaffolding falling on Reigns or somebody trying to kill him with a car. All that good stuff. Not necessarily for him, but for us, the viewers. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really, really curious to see where it's going to go. But they are my SmackDown highlights for this week. Yeah, a really good show. But what did you guys think of SmackDown Live this week? The amateur analyst said the SmackDown Live go-home show was okay. No Intercontinental title match set up. No tag team title match set up. But this still wasn't the worst edition of the show. Correct. It really wasn't. SmackDown has been, like Raw, has been consistent. But because Raw has just hit another level, recently, SmackDown's kind of creeping under the radar a little bit. So people are starting to think it's an okay show. I tell you what, that changes in October with Fox. It has to. I'm not saying it's bad because, it was a good show this week. It was a good show last week and the week before. But when Fox take over in October, I think we're going to have Raw and SmackDown on a level playing field, to be honest. I really do. And it's exciting times. Exciting times. The Clean Finish said, Buddy Murphy on SmackDown Live. Oh, hell yes. More of him, please. Let the secret out. Absolutely. I need to see Buddy Murphy on TV more often. I loved him down in 205 Live. I loved him in NXT when he was with Blake. So, yeah, I'm a big Buddy Murphy fan, and I really, really hope with this new direction that WWE is going in and the new direction that SmackDown is going in, that we're going to be seeing a lot more of Buddy Murphy. Fingers crossed. And finally, Michael Smith said, thinking about last night's SmackDown Live, strong in parts, weak in others. Unfortunately, the things that stand out most to me are the Natty Ember match that shouldn't have happened, and Ali losing a match that shouldn't have happened. Poor decisions. It was strong in place, and it was weak in others. That is the general, feel for, any wrestling show, I would say. The Natty Ember thing, it didn't really need to happen, but thankfully there wasn't a decisive outcome. It just kind of showcased Natty's, intensity and her new edge to her character going into SummerSlam, but at the sacrifice of Ember Moon, which was a little bit strange. And I already talked about Ali, being in the IC title picture, and being fed to Dolph to make him look strong. Yeah, there are some decisions that are, a little weird, but hopefully we'll start to build on from that and move away from that going forward. But that was your tweets for the week, which means it is time for the voice clip. And I already said who it was. It's WrestleNews365. And he's going to give you his thoughts on the 90-minute prior to the show, those changes made by Vince McMahon. So here he is.
Hi Dits, it's WrestleNews365 here, at 365Wrestling on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Instagram. Got to get my plugs in. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty tired and frustrated of reading the same report every Tuesday, roughly 2 or 3 hours before SmackDown goes on the air, that Vince McMahon has ripped up the script and completely rewritten it. It's starting to feel like Groundhog Day is not a Sunday in February. In fact, it's every Tuesday evening. Now, I know it would be incredibly naive of me to expect WWE to have some form of plan from month to month, but does it really need to be rewritten 90 minutes before they go on the air? I'll give credit where credit's due. Fair play to the performers, because they do their very best at pulling it off, and the show last night wasn't that bad at all. but just think the quality they could have if they actually planned some of these segments out a bit further in advance, generating some anticipation for future matches and angles. But the bigger question is, what kind of creative is being proposed that is so bad in the eyes of Vince McMahon that it's deemed not suitable for the air only 90 minutes before the show goes live? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.
And there we go. That was Wrestle News 365 with his voice clip this week. Thank you very much for supplying that. Again, just keep these voice clips coming because it's great that you guys get to voice your opinions on this platform. Because otherwise, you might not necessarily have, that opportunity. So I like to give that to you. So hopefully you can take it and get yourselves on the show every single week. Good stuff. But that was the WWE TV side of things, the highlights done there, which means it's time for some SummerSlam predictions. Now, before we get into that, I just want to briefly mention NXT TakeOver because, of course, that is coming this weekend as well. So excited for it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch NXT that much in the last couple of weeks, but I know exactly what is going down. And I'm going to watch it live regardless. I'll probably actually spend my whole evening catching up on NXT and then bang, straight into TakeOver. But there's even you could not watch NXT TV and still watch NXT TakeOver, and it would still be fantastic. So really looking forward to it. Of course, I'm looking forward to the main event, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano. It is a 3 stages of hell. It's not 2 out of 3 falls. It's 3 stages of hell. So I'm really looking forward to that. And also the triple threat for the North American Championship as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, and the tag title match actually as well, and the women's. Oh god, there's so much good stuff, and there always is with NXT takeovers. So really looking forward to that. But without further ado, here are here's a SummerSlam preview as such with Mags and myself. It is that time of year where it is the biggest party of the summer, apparently. Yep, it's SummerSlam time, and today I didn't think I'd be able to do it on my own and give it justice because the match card is stacked and the show seems like it's going to go on for at least 13 hours, so there's no way I can cover that on my Todd. So today, I've brought along a friend. I've brought along Mags. How you doing, buddy?
I am not too bad. Excited to just get down to what SummerSlam's about this year. I
mean, it's looking good. I mean, I had reservations because of the way WWE had gone about things earlier on in the year. Like post-WrestleMania, it was a bit of a slump. But now that Heyman and Bischoff are in charge, I mean, Heyman seems to have more influence than Bischoff, it seems. But we're seeing it on TV now. The quality of the TV shows has just completely turned around, which has now made me excited for SummerSlam, because usually it'd just be something that I just watched because it's SummerSlam, it's one of the biggest shows of the year. But now I want to watch it, and I'm excited about it at the same time, which is good.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think the weekly program's been pretty awful, but since Bischoff and Heyman were brought back into the fold, and I think also since Bruce Pritchard's been involved, it's tended to have improved the product. But being fair to WWE, I think even with the abysmal weekly program, the pay-per-views have seemed to have done really well. Like really knocked out of the park for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what was the last one? Stomping Grounds?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty good, and loads of people. Well, I think people went into that with like zero expectations.
Yeah, it was the same.
Really good.
Yeah, it was the same with Extreme Rules. Nobody was willing to give that pay-per-view a chance, and it ended up being a really, really entertaining show.
Yeah, and I was actually on holiday when I watched that, so I was like, oh, am I actually choosing this over them being out on the balcony in the sun with a beer? And I didn't actually regret it, so that's good. That means that is progress as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, I will stress to the people listening right now, we are recording this on a Tuesday, so SmackDown is yet to air, which means, I mean, let's be honest, WWE like to throw things in there last minute. We are probably going to have something added onto the card. So these are the predictions as of Raw. So I'm going to assume you watched Raw. Did you, Mags?
I haven't watched it all. I know the bits that I'm interested in. I know what's gone on, so yeah.
I mean, I think there was only one match added on Raw, to be honest. So with the card that we've got at the moment, in front of me we've got Lesnar Rollins for the Universal title, Becky Natalia for the Raw Women's Championship, Bayley Ember for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Kofi Orton for the WWE title, Owens and Shane, Balor and Wyatt, Styles Ricochet for the US title, Goldberg and Ziggler, which was added on Raw, and Trish Stratus versus Charlotte. I mean, as just a generalization, how do you think that card is actually looking and how it's going to rank among the better SummerSlam cards?
Do you know, looking at the card, I mean, Goldberg versus Ziggler is obviously going to be probably a damp squib, but if you were to look at that and just judge it on the matches, that's actually not a bad card, to be fair. Some really interesting matchups, a lot of stuff that we've seen a few times, but yeah, I mean, like, the fact we're getting Trish Stratus back after God knows 12 years almost of without wrestling, yeah, I'm quietly excited for this show.
Yeah, I think Trish and Charlotte. It depends if Trish shows up. I mean, she did well at Evolution last year, and I think she might have wrestled the night after that on Raw in another tag match. But that was the thing; they were tag matches, so she had Lita to rely on. But this year, she's going solo, and she's going solo against arguably one of the better wrestlers in the world, male or female, right now. That's a tough task.
But if anybody can carry someone with a little bit of ring rust to a good match in that women's division, it's got to be Charlotte. She's, like you said, she's she's in the conversation for best wrestler like in the world, not just the best women's wrestler. She's carried the women's division on her back for the past 6-7 years. I think it's an interesting matchup, and I think it's just good to see Trish Stratus back, and hopefully this will lead on to more wrestling for her.
Yeah, I think if she does well, and I think that she will, I think the least we can expect is decent, which that's not a bad thing. I mean, I'd rather have a decent match than a terrible match. There's going to be rust, of course there is, but I can accept that because I'm realistic. I'm sure you can accept that because it's what to expect with somebody who hasn't wrestled or has wrestled like 4 times, like you said, in 12 years. But you'll get fickle people, and there's a lot of fickle people who just chastise WWE, and any botch, they will jump on it, which is a shame because it's Trish fucking Stratus, for God's sake.
Exactly.
But seeing as we're talking about Trish and Charlotte, who have you got?
I just can't see Charlotte losing this. I think this is a case of keeping Charlotte in the hunt at the top of the women's division without actually giving her a title match, because obviously we know she's been in almost every single title match for the last couple of years. I think it's just a big name for Charlotte, to almost like a passing of the torch kind of thing, where she's the face of this era. Trish Stratus was the face of the women's era before that. So yeah, I can't look past Charlotte Flair winning this one.
No, I'm exactly the same, and I mean it is era versus era. It is the best of one era against the best of another one. I mean, some people could probably argue that Becky might be slowly reaching that level, but I think Charlotte just pips her because of just how long she's sustained this whole push, the momentum, just absolutely everything, and she's just kept it going at full pelt. Now, there's something interesting I listened to this morning, actually, over on our good friend Josh's show, Wrestling Reverb. He said that he sees this match as kind of like Icon versus Icon, so like The Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18. Now, I thought that was a really interesting thing to say. Of course, it's not on that level because, my God, that was another level. But do you think that this is the women's equivalent of that? If you were to have like the ultimate Icon versus Icon match, would you go for Charlotte versus Trish?
if you're talking strictly WWE, then yeah, I think Josh hit the nail right on the head. Charlotte Flair is the best women's wrestler in my eyes that WWE have got, and like I said, Trish Stratus, the face of that era. So yeah, I don't fully think it's on, like you said, on the scale of Rock versus Hogan, but in terms of the women, yeah, I think it's a really good analogy.
Yeah, and it's the thing I like about it as well is a match like this doesn't need that much build. So we had the Jerry Lawler thing where, you know, Trish came out and we knew what it was all about. We knew what it was. There was rumors circulating. We knew that Charlotte was going to come out and bang, there you go, you got a match. So I thought their little promo in there was good. So the build to it. Last night on Raw, it could have been more. I don't know. This is what worries me because Trish didn't. They had a tag match, obviously, but Trish didn't tag in once, and the only physical alteration she got in was ducking a punch from Natty, I think it was, when she dropped down to the floor, and then when she got pushed by an attack. Oh no, she was teaming with Natty. What am I talking about? I'm talking shite. I mean, it was either Charlotte or Becky that tried to it, but then Natalya pushed her at the end of the match. So that was essentially her physical side of that match. So I don't know if they're saving her just because it makes us want it more, or are they saving it more because there's something niggly happening? That's what worries me. Because if Trish isn't 100%, then I think it's going to take away some of the shine of that match.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm hoping it's the former, where it's just a case of teaser being in the ring, but she's not actually in the ring kind of thing, and you have to watch SummerSlam to get Trish back in action. Maybe she's got, like I said, a little bit of ring rust. Maybe she weren't as confident as she thought she would be. I don't know. We'll soon see this weekend.
It is one of the matches I'm looking forward to, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, this one's not going to take that long to talk about because it's literally had about 2 weeks worth of build, and by build I mean name drop, and that's it. Ziggler versus Goldberg announced last night on Raw. I mean, I actually really liked the way they did it, but as a build, it's a nothing build. You know, Ziggler's been insulting Goldberg, saying, you know, he's past it, all this kind of stuff. But obviously everybody wanted Ziggler HBK, and it was teased on Raw as well, but everyone already knew that Goldberg was in the building because he he posted on Instagram saying, "Are you ready?" It's like, we know you're here, you just ruined it, but he's still got a big pop, bless him. But, I mean, I can't see past Goldberg at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is Goldberg's asked for this, because obviously he feels he let the audience down with the match against Taker. Yeah, like I said, it's a nothing build. I would have preferred to see him Ziggler versus HBK. That was kind of like almost a mirror match. But it's Goldberg on the card. He's going to come do his thing. 3 minutes, jackknife, spear, game over.
And I don't really mind that, to be honest. Now, the character that Ziggler has adopted, like, recently, I don't think it's necessarily about... I mean, he got squashed by Owens at the last pay-per-view, I guess, so 2 squashes in a row isn't exactly great, but it's Goldberg. He is a squash machine. Like, you can't expect anything more than that. So, I mean, it could surprise us. It could surprise us. Like, Brock versus Goldberg at WrestleMania, that surprised us. So you never know. It won't happen, but you never know. Yeah, that's definitely an easy prediction. But it's good that they're giving him the chance to redeem himself, because obviously Taker wouldn't have been happy with how that match panned out either, and he redeemed himself at Extreme Rules. I thought he did really well in that match.
Yeah, I agree.
And Drew. So now this is Goldberg's turn, and Dolph can do really well for him, I think, and help him along and make Goldberg look like an absolute badass, and bump around for him. I mean, you know, Dolph sells like Shawn on Heat. So I don't think Goldberg's going to look at coming out of this looking gold, and whether that means it's going to be his last match, I don't know, but I hope it is, because I think he's past it. I think he's probably past it like a year or two ago. But I think now is the time to hang up the boots. You can put Ziggler to bed, have a decent last match, and then ride off into the sunset. Done.
Yeah, totally agree. I think this is going to be one of those kind of matches where it's in between two really like exciting matches. This is kind of the cool down, like the refresh before another big match takes place.
Yeah, because you will be able to sit it, and you will be able to kind of like switch off because you kind of know what's going to happen. So it'll be exactly. It'll be placed it'll place perfectly in between two like high profile matches. Which, well, I'm just going off the match card that's on Wikipedia, obviously the most reliable source of information. So obviously Trish was the start of that list. Then we had Goldberg, Ziggler, and after that we've got Styles versus Ricochet for the US title. Who have you got?
With the way that the OC, which I think is a horrific name for the group, the way that they've only just like basically reformed, I think this is where AJ puts this feud with Ricochet to bed and retains his US title, and then we move on to someone else.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. As much as I would love to see Ricochet get that belt back, because he did. I mean, he did. He wasn't. I mean, obviously the reign was short, but he did really well with it when he had it for that short amount of time. You know, he did well against Joe when he won it. And he performed well against Styles as well in the two matches that they had. Mm-hmm. But they were TV bouts and they were good matches. And this is now on pay-per-view. But I'm just hoping that Gallows and Anderson don't get involved too much, because I think it'll spoil it a little. I mean, it's wrestling. They're obviously going to get involved. It is essentially a 3-on-1 handicap match, but it just would be nice just to go, right, you got AJ Styles, you got Ricochet, just let them go. And you're going to get... I mean, it's a show stealer. It really is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what you've got to be careful with Ricochet, obviously he's quite new to the main roster, and you want him coming out of this at least looking a little bit strong. You don't want him to just be absolutely beat to pieces. So yeah, I like the club. I've always liked Gallows and Anderson before they even came to WWE, and I'm glad that they're finally using him like in a way that like kind of like shows off what they can do. But yeah, I just think AJ is going to win. We'll get a strong showing for Ricochet and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see where Ricochet would go after this feud if he is to lose. But I would love to see him revisit the Cesaro feud. Personally, I would love that. Their series of matches was absolutely amazing. Yeah,
they totally agree. And I think Cesaro's not got really much going on. So, yeah, that'd be great wrestling all around.
But to be fair, you could put Ricochet with anybody and it's not going to be bad.
Yeah, exactly. He's a once-in-a-generation talent. Absolutely. I mean, watching him from the Ballers coming all the way through to NXT and now obviously onto the main show, it's just so exciting to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fuck it. Let's just put him with No Way Jose and just see what happens.
To be honest, to throw like a bit of a wayward look at it, I'd like to see some bigger names actually go to 205. And I mean, I know Ricochet could get to that 205 level. And if you stuck about 3 or 4 big names on that show, it quadrupled the viewers. Yeah,
I mean, it's silently been a favourite show of like many people. Like I'd say just below NXT. I mean, Triple H is running it now, so it's essentially NXT light, kind of. I mean, that's not to put 205 down, but that's kind of the perception of it.
Yeah.
I try and watch it as much as I can, but obviously there's so much wrestling to watch. It's very hard to add that into everything else that goes on. But every single time I've watched 205, the last 205 I watched was it was when Kanellis and Maverick had... It was the week before they had their fight, so it was the promo that they did, and I was watching it and I was like, that is amazing. You got all the comedy stuff on Raw, then on 205, it's all real, it's gritty, it's intense. I mean, them two together was absolutely amazing, and that's not even the wrestling side of it. The wrestling side obviously cruiserweight action is always exciting, always good. But that was with Mike and Ellis and Drake Maverick. But like you said, if you add like a Ricochet into that, if you pull up Johnny Gargano from NXT, if you add hell, you throw Rey Mysterio in there. Like,
exactly.
He's
Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, exactly. Yeah, he's wasting away on the main roster. Like they're not doing anything with him. So put him on 205 where he's going to have amazing matches every single week.
Exactly. Totally agree.
But whether they do it or not, whether they value it enough to justify moving big stars over there, I don't know.
No, because it seems that they're using the NXT stars and the NXT UK stars in like almost like a three-way dance where they can show up on either show. But it's sad to see what's essentially WWE's best wrestling product just not getting the viewership.
And it doesn't help that it's after SmackDown as well. That really doesn't help.
It's such a bugbear of mine. If they switched that to Full Sail and filmed it at the same time as NXT, it just make the show a million times better.
Definitely. I've seen so many people say that as well. Move it to Full Sail and just watch it soar. Like that Full Sail crowd can elevate everything. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Triple H needs to start banging some heads together and say, let's move these boys down to Full Sail. I'll take care of them.
Yeah, and then Vince says, send me some of your best guys. I would need someone to sit in catering.
And then you go, no, that's all right. You can fucking keep it after SmackDown. You ain't touching my boys. Here we go. Right, so this is the match that I am the most looking forward to. This Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Who do you have?
Another one that is pretty clear cut for me. I can't look past the Fiend. I think Bray needs this big opening victory, and obviously we've all heard the rumours that Finn Balor's looking to have a couple of months off to rest and recuperate. Makes absolutely clear sense that Balor goes and puts Bray over, and the Fiend beats Balor.
I agree. I agree with that. But to be fair, yeah, because it's kind of predictable. Let's predict something else. Is it going to be a squash?
No. I wouldn't have said a squash. I think Finn's going to want to go out on a bit of a high. So I think it's probably my pick for sleeper match of the night. If you let these two go, we all know what Finn could do, and Bray Wyatt, when he's given the chance to perform in the ring, is unreal. So I don't think it's going to be a squash. I think it's going to be a really, really good, solid match. But yeah, I can't see Bray losing.
I really, really hope that you're right, because I'd love this to like absolutely steal the show, and I think it kind of will, just because we have the Fiend debuting in the ring. So I think already it's a show stealer just purely based on that. But to have a good match around that is also like really important, especially for Bray, who he's. I said this to somebody the other day. When Bray first came in onto the main roster, you know, he was the cult leader Bray, and he had that whole build from coming up, feuding with Kane, and then they had that SummerSlam match, the Inferno match, and that was the indicator of where we were going to go. He's the guy, or he's just another guy. And I think this kind of mirrors that. This is really important to Bray now that he's kind of re-debuting. So he needs a good showing. He cannot be Bray of old. You know, the same movesets, all that kind of stuff, where he kind of puts himself up, like the crab walking thing, all that kind of stuff. Like I don't think that fits with the Fiend anymore. So I'm hoping he brings something different. And I think if he does, that's what steals the show.
Yeah, and he's also got all the hype of the Firefly Funhouse to live up to. It's been one of the best things on WWE TV for the past 6 months. And if he just delivers a 2-minute squash match, it's going to make that almost redundant, that build-up. So I think, we need to see Bray doing something new and unique and just having a really, really good match.
Yeah, and I mean, regards to the build, I mean, it hasn't really needed a build. Obviously, he attacked Balor when he first came out, and that's really all you need. We've seen him a couple of times. Bray, like from the Funhouse Bray, interact with Balor, and then he kind of showed up on the stage, distracted him against Ziggler last week. But I don't think you need any more than that, to be honest. So it's been a good build for exactly what it is.
Yeah, and sometimes these stories with little build actually make the match better because it's not over scripted. You're not being dragged into a convoluted story. It's just two really good wrestlers getting the way to having a match on a pay-per-view.
Yeah. But going the opposite end of the scale with minimal build to something with a great build, we have Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Kevin Owens loses, he quits WWE. Who have you got on this one?
Every month a pay-per-view comes up, and every month I see Shane McMahon's name on that pay-per-view, and I just want to cry. I hope Kevin Owens breaks both of Shane McMahon's legs so he never has to wrestle again. Please, Kevin Owens, do me a solid and beat the living piss out of Shane McMahon.
Mate, if Shane's legs were broken, he would wrestle in a wheelchair. He would get Drew and Elias to drag that chair to the top of a Hell in a Cell, and he would still fly off the damn thing. He will not want to go away anytime soon. I mean, I think it's a shame that the stipulation isn't aimed at Shane as well. But I can see why, obviously, because it feeds into, the whole, Owens being incredibly confident that he's going to top Shane. And if he can't, then what's the point in hanging around if he, can't rid the Shane tyranny that we've all bore the brunt of over the last couple of months. But I actually think Shane's, from a character point of view, Shane has been fantastic, but there's just been too much of him.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with him. We had him on as a topic on Badlands, and if you go back to like when Shane first started coming into wrestling, he was the plucky kind of underdog wrestler, but you didn't see him all the time, and now you're seeing him multiple times on each show, and it's like SmackDown's all based around him, and it just gets a little bit boring.
I think, yeah, exactly, and I think this is what's going to end that. I think because you cannot not strap a rocket to Kevin Owens now after what he's done. And hey, maybe this is a tester because I've heard that his promos throughout this whole thing, for the most part, have been unscripted. They've just gone, "There's your bullet points, mate. Crack on," and he is shone. I mean, he's always been a good promo guy, but take away that script that you have to follow word for word, every little bit of punctuation you have to follow. Him going out on his own when he jumped up on the announce desk and just shot that pipe bomb, that was amazing. And that is a catalyst to where he is now. He cannot lose this match and get something out the other end of it either. It'd just be insane.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Kevin Owens is one of the best things in WWE today, and I think a loss to Shane McMahon, it just stops that momentum dead in its tracks.
Yeah, I mean WWE are known for it, so I wouldn't put it past them. But because it's been going well, fingers crossed that they see the light and they just fucking listen to us. Apparently we're the authority. I never got fired. You never got fired. So fucking listen to us. We want Kevin Owens to win, all right?
Definitely.
Then we go on. I mean, every time I read out this thing, I'm not actually going, ugh. Maybe Goldberg Ziggler, but even then, that'll be fine. Kofi Randy Orton next for the WWE title. Who have you got, mate?
Now this one is one that I have flip-flopped about a couple of times. I absolutely think this build has been brilliant. Really, I enjoy these stories that harken back to like times gone by, and you can't get any further away in time than this. 10 years in the making for this feud. If I had a gun to my head right now, I see Randy Orton taking the belt.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, this is the first disagreement.
Wow.
Oh, see, I'm going Kofi, but I said this to somebody on Twitter, I think it was last week. I said, I think Kofi's going to win, but if Randy won, I wouldn't care. Because I stan Orton like nobody else. I love that guy. Give me an RKO any day of the week.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me with Orton is when he knows he's interested in it and he's like excited about a feud like this one, you can really see he gets his teeth into it and he becomes almost like a better version of himself. And yeah, I agree with you. I think when on his day, he's one of the very best in WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, people say that he's all chin locks and just boring, plodding, whatever. Like that's what he is. And is he a one move guy where it's just the RKO? Maybe, but the fucking RKO is incredible, so I don't care. But what I've noticed about Randy in the last couple of years, I mean, in ring, he's kind of remained solid, but the RKO is becoming like more and more spotlighted. I mean, it always has been, but like now it's all about the RKO. Like everything's built around that. You know, he does the whole, the three most dangerous words in sports entertainment, letters in RKO. Fucking hell, I can't even speak. But I think his promo work now is some of the best stuff that I've seen him do in a very long time. Like the stuff with Kofi that he did recently, saying how he used backstage politics, to hold him down when Kofi was, hitting that rise, many moons ago. And he did the same with Jeff as well. When they were feuding, AJ Styles as well, when it was Randy, the WWE guy, against the indie guy. And Orton's been really, really fun to listen to on the mic recently. And, I mean, even his video package last week on SmackDown was fantastic. So I think as he's growing older, his promos, I think for me, are starting to overshadow the wrestling. But it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I get you. I really enjoy his promos as well. I think the all you weren't ready then and you're not ready now kind of thing. Yep, I totally am 100% a Randy Orton fan for that. I just think that this feud's got legs, and I think a Randy win keeps it going.
You know what this could be? This could be Orton Christian levels. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you could have this like go over a couple of months easily. But do you think Kofi's run as champion has run its course now?
No, not so much run its course. I think it just a loss would like extend the feud a little bit. If he beats Randy Orton in this feud, in this match, where does the feud go after that? Yeah. So I think Kofi's run as champion has been a massive, massive success, and I'm not really ready for it to end yet. He's not got to that stage where he's not still the underdog, but I just think this feud could go somewhere else, and I'd just like to see Randy win the title and see where we can take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, if this extends to Survivor Series, I'm not going to complain about it, and I don't think many people will, because these two have chemistry dating back, like you said, like so many years, and they've got so much backstory to feed into this entire feud, as well as new stuff going on as well. Because obviously Kofi is now completely different to what he was when Randy was first feuding with him. So if this goes to Survivor Series, maybe there's some shenanigans in the match for whatever reason. Maybe there's a DQ finish, which isn't necessarily always a good thing. But if it extends a feud, and it extends it to a point that it's not just a waste of time, it extends it to something worthwhile, then I'm okay with that as well. So
yeah, it's just with 10 years of story. I mean, they've made a big point of it being this 10-year story where Kofi's been held down. For it to finish after one match at a SummerSlam, there's so much to be told there yet, and it'd be just wasted if they finished it on this. So yeah, a Randy Orton win would keep me very interested.
Absolutely. So this next match is the one out of everything on this card in front of me right now, is the one I'm least looking forward to, and it's Bayley versus Ember Moon for the SmackDown Women's title. And that is not anything to say. against the two of them because I love Ember Moon's in-ring stuff, but as a character, meh. Bayley, I've always been a fan of Bayley, but again, the build to it hasn't excited me enough that I'm excited about the match itself. I mean, I don't know how you feel.
For me, this match is almost like the black to the Raw Women's title match where this has had literally no build up. It's do you want to have a match? Let's have a match. Where obviously Becky has had like a storyline built around her match. Yeah, but if you take it at face value, if you saw a match with Bayley versus Ember Moon in ring, it's going to be a really good match. So I'm positive about that. But yeah, I can understand the lack of enthusiasm because of the way it's been built. And I think Bayley's like run as SmackDown Women's Champion hasn't had that much like fanfare almost.
No, it hasn't yet. And I don't know whether that's because she was stuck with... I say she's stuck with Alexa. It's not a bad place to be stuck. But she was kind of like she was the third wheel with the Nikki and Alexa story that was going on. I think that's what the problem with that feud was. But now, I mean, yeah, the build hasn't been great. I'm not that invested in it. But I think if she puts in a good performance against Ember, and I think Bayley will win, by the way. If she puts in a good performance against Ember, it's a really good like jumping off point to her next feud. You know, whatever that may be, it's probably going to be Charlotte. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
but you know, I think she does need a good showing, and I think she will deliver, and I think that she will win. But I also think that Ember Moon will look good in defeat as well.
Yep, totally go along with that. I think Bayley picks up a win here, and I totally agree with the follow-up. I think it's a way to get Charlotte back in that title picture.
I mean, I'm just saying that there. Charlotte is the go-to, and it's the very, very easy option to take, but I'd actually love to see Liv Morgan slide in there.
Yeah, I like Liv Morgan. I think she can be a little bit sloppy sometimes. Maybe a bit of build-up before going for the title, maybe. But yeah, it's just would Liv Morgan versus Bayley sell better than Charlotte versus Bayley?
Well, if you're going off name value, yeah, I don't think it will. I don't think Liv has connected with the main roster as much as is needed for a feud over the world title for the women. But I'm looking forward to her coming back, because obviously she's coming back as this rehashed character. We don't know anything that's going to happen, but she's promised she's coming back, you know, in a different way. However that ends up being, who knows? But I'm excited to see what she's going to deliver. And there's so many women on that roster as well, like that we forget about. You know, you got Carmella, who's locked in the 24/7 title with R-Truth, which isn't a bad thing. Then you got Sonya, you got Mandy, Asuka, Kairi Sane. I mean, they're locked in tag teams, but they don't need to be in tag teams if, you know, one of them wants to go off and feud for the title. So Bayley has a lot of options, but, you know, like you said, is anything better or bigger than Bayley Charlotte? So that's probably what we're going to get, but there are other options.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Final two, and this I actually wouldn't be surprised if this was the final two matches at SummerSlam as well. Becky Lynch, Natalya, Raw Women's Championship. Who have you got coming out on top of this one?
Becky Lynch. She's the WWE's golden goose right now, and I just can't see her dropping that title.
Reveal her as the cover star of 2K20 and then take the belt off her.
Exactly. She's their number one star right now. Beating Natalya in Canada is obviously just gonna increase that a little bit more. This match for me is weird though, because what's Becky's role in it? Is she meant to be the face? Because everybody loves her, but the stuff she's doing is the heel work. It's quite a weird like dichotomy in this match.
Yeah, I think they've both settled into... I think they both settle into a grey area because, I mean, Becky's always been grey since she, adopted the whole man persona. And it's good to see her get back into that again after the whole Seth Rollins stuff because, fucking hell, less said about that, the better. So it's good to see her back to her best as the man on her own. But I think she's always been in that grey area. Obviously, she's treated as a face, but... she can be a heel, but it doesn't really affect how we perceive her. But with Natalya, we're used to her either being a face or being a heel. She's never been that in between, which is why I'm really excited about this feud because she has an edge to her, but it's not a heel edge. So, like last night, she wouldn't let go of the sharpshooter, despite the fact Becky, had done a rope break, and then she pushed Trish. After it, she's been great in this feud, and I think people have overlooked Natty, for many, many years, myself included. To be honest, I've never been a big Natalya fan, but I'm seeing a different side of her with this feud, and I'm glad that Becky's bringing that out of her because I've actually really enjoyed the build to this. Yeah,
I agree with you. She's always been that almost always there kind of wrestler, but never like in the big farts. I think Nata is an absolutely great wrestler when she's given the chance to shine. Her and Becky will have an absolutely stellar match. I have no doubt, but I can't see Becky losing this title to Natalya.
No, definitely not. And I'm curious to see which way the crowd are going to go because. Like Becky's love, like in the arenas anyway. I mean, let's not even talk about Twitter. But in the arenas themselves, like the love that she gets is more or less unanimous. It really is. But put her in to Natty's neck of the woods. It's going to be an interesting dynamic, and I don't know which way the crowd are going to go. To be honest. Yeah. I think that'll add a layer to the match, which I think will, just give it that little bit of a boost. But I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, but I can't see Natalya coming out on top. But I can predict that it's going to be a very good match.
Yep, easily. I agree, and I'm eager to see what way the crowd go on it. Like you said, Becky's the hottest star, but it isn't. Canadians are fiercely protective of their talent, and yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun match. I can't wait for it.
And then that leaves us with the Universal Championship match: Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. I mean, who have you got?
You said in the last one about not mentioning Twitter, but I can't not mention Twitter in this. It's been interesting to see how quickly Twitter has turned on Seth Rollins. 4 or 5 months ago, he was the hero. He slayed the beast, and now people want him to get his ass whooped. It's really, really just been fun to watch. But yeah, Brock wins this. Brock wins this easily, I think.
I mean, he kind of has to. There's absolutely no way that Seth can take that beating that he did last week, which was fucking incredible, by the way. I remember the Cena squash from SummerSlam, like 2012-13, whenever it was, against Brock. I sat there with a massive smile on my face throughout that match, and this beating of Seth was exactly the same. I was sat there just beaming. I enjoy the hell out of it, a bit more than I probably should have, but I think I do think it's all down to social media with Seth. Like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, like you said, like he was the hero at WrestleMania. Like, everybody was so happy to see him, best the beast. But he's his own worst enemy. He really is. He's coming out with some shit, and then he had the whole Will Ospreay stuff, and then he kind of apologized and said, "I will do better." But he didn't. Like
he did a lot worse.
I mean, what's the latest crap he's come out with? Like, intergender wrestling is not realistic. Like, shut up, Seth. What are you talking about?
Okay, if we want to go along the realistic route, Seth Rollins took 2 massive ass whoopings off Brock Lesnar, bleeding, holding his ribs. Is it realistic that he's going to be able to beat Brock Lesnar on Sunday? Absolutely not. So if you want to play the realism card, he should get his ass absolutely handed to him.
Exactly. I mean, oh, God, like I hope he destroys him. I really do.
And how weird is it, though, that at WrestleMania, everybody hated Brock Lesnar. Like, he was the most hated man in wrestling. And now people had actually wanted him to beat Seth Rollins. It's wrestling Twitter never ceases to amaze me.
Oh, no, it's absolutely fascinating. It really is. And I'm on that train. I love... I mean, I always have
I am.
Brock Lesnar. But... I mean, I soured on him, but when Brock is absolutely destroying things, like, I mean, what he did to Seth back when he destroyed that car, I think he was actually feuding with Seth that time as well, when he decided to F5 Michael Cole out of his shoes, all that kind of stuff. Oh, that is the Brock Lesnar that I absolutely adore. And I got to see that again last week, and then a little bit this week. Oh, just give me... Just some kind, just fuck it. Just make it go 18 minutes of German suplexes, F5s, and just chuck him around. I would not complain. I would love that.
Yeah, exactly. I was speaking recently to Chris Spiezak from Spies and the Benchmark, and we were talking about like this idea of a fighting champion. If you remember when Seth won the title, he was going to be this fighting champion. Yeah. But is that what we actually really want? Do we want a fighting champion, or do we want a champion that looks like he could legitimately kill everybody? You want that realism? You want that if someone beats Brock Lesnar, it looks like an amazing achievement, not having a world title match every week on Raw. It just... I'm on the Brock Lesnar train. I think he's going to go down as a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. And when he packs up wrestling, we are going to miss him. It's as simple as that. We might hate him now, but we're going to miss him. No,
absolutely. He's kind of the guy that you can use as a tool to build other people, even in defeat. I mean, Finn Balor at the Rumble this year looked really, really good against Brock. And last year, Daniel Bryan looked... incredible against... I mean, that looked like a squash, and then Bryan just suddenly turned, and it was like, oh my God, like this match has just suddenly gone from, here we go, another Brock Lesnar squash, to, oh my God, this is incredible. And that's what you can do.
And he creates talking points. Like him or loathe him, you end up talking about him. I mean, look at the Money in the Bank stuff. It was there for 20 seconds, and he was the one person that everybody was talking about afterwards. He came out with the briefcase, using it as a boombox.
Oh, fucking hell,
yeah. You can't tell me you didn't enjoy that.
I loved it.
It was tacky and corny and all that, but I loved it, and I think Brock Lesnar is amazing.
I mean, it is a shame about Seth. But I did feel bad about him, and then I actually kind of thought about it. I go, you've kind of set this up yourself by just not controlling yourself when it comes to smacking your thumbs against a phone screen. Like, it's it's so avoidable, but...
Yeah, exactly, and that's my big problem with it. He didn't need to involve himself, but he has, and he's put his foot right in his mouth and got everybody to turn on him. And then he wore a T-shirt saying "the man's man," and just made himself look like an absolute bitch.
And I mean, WWE have tried as well to kind of make him a sympathetic figure and all this kind of stuff. And he was, to be fair, like last week, I mean, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I know that this is, it's scripted, it's not real, but I actually thought he was going to die. But this week, I think they pushed it a little bit too far. They've tried to pull, the sympathy in again. It's just stupid. Seth coming out with a chair. Like, what chance do you have against Brock Lesnar when you're holding? You can't even walk down to the ring. Like, what chance do you have? And then Brock destroys him again, and then he gets on the mic and he's just trying to get that sympathy from the audience, and then he's getting what chance? Nobody cares, and that's it. I'm just really perplexed by how I mean, like you said, hero at WrestleMania, you look at him now, what a fall from grace. It really is.
Yeah, and Brock has literally just swapped places with him, and it's just so much fun to watch.
I mean, I hope that with Seth doing this and taking the beatings that he has, this is the Brock Lesnar that we're going to get from now on. And I think because now you've got that Heyman influence as well, I think that helps with really highlighting the beast side of Brock Lesnar. So, he's going to remain box office. Like, there's no way that's going to change. But I think he's just going to be badass box office.
Yeah, I agree.
Get that on a t-shirt. Badass box office. Boom. But, there you go. That's the card. That is the card.
Well, card is subject to change. Tonight, Smackdown might throw a big old spanner in the works.
Yes, as you are listening to this, people, you'll probably have another 6 matches added on, which it would not surprise me. I mean, we don't have there we go. We don't have the Intercontinental title. We don't have the 3 tag team belts, cruiserweight title as well. I mean, that's 5 matches straight off. So there's going to be stuff added, but we've covered what people are probably going to be more excited about. Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, if you look at this card on paper, it's a decent card. It's going to have some really good matches. So, yeah, I'm excited for it.
Are you staying up to watch it? Because you are a fellow Brit, and obviously it's very difficult to stay up and watch these pay-per-views. Are you going to be live tweeting? Are you going to be watching it as it airs?
I'll definitely be watching it. Being a lifelong wrestling fan, I've got my sleep pattern down to a T when it comes to these pay-per-views, and then especially when being a UFC fan as well. Weekends that tend to be up at ungodly hours to watch these events.
It's a sad existence, it really is. I mean, I'm going to be sat in work on Monday morning feeling so sorry for myself, because it's going to finish at 5, isn't it? And I get up for work about 6:30, so that is absolutely depressing when I think about that.
Post pay-per-view Mondays are the worst. You just feel like an absolute zombie.
And I'm literally just going to load myself up on Monster, coffee, Pro Plus. I'm going to get all of that in me for the Monday morning, because anybody that comes into my office and asks any queries of me, I'm just going to tell them to get out. Do you not know what happened last night? It was feckin' SummerSlam, and it was 6 hours of the damn thing. Get out.
Just draw some eyeballs on the back of your eyelids and just have a snooze.
So this is where I need. This is where we need holograms. I could just have a hologram do my job for me, but I don't think we're anywhere near that. Sadly, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Let fantasy book your future working patterns. That is a podcast for another day. But yeah, there we go. That is the SummerSlam card, subject to change. But no, like you said, I'm really, really excited for it. And I have no doubt that it's going to be good. And it'll have NXT TakeOver kicking its ass as well, because no doubt that is going to be fantastic on Saturday. What a great weekend of wrestling.
Yeah. We've been spoiled recently by wrestling, to be fair, with AEW coming through, and then the rise of Brit wrestling and the Indies. Yeah, and then obviously New Japan with the G1. It's been an absolute orgy of wrestling recently.
It's the perfect way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, we cannot ask for much more as wrestling fans right now. We really cannot. But there we go. That was SummerSlam. Mags, thank you very much for coming on and talking the shit with me. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem at all. Anytime.
And obviously, this is you've mentioned your pod whilst people were talking. Many people might have cottoned on to it who know who you are. But for those who don't, let's talk about your 2 podcasts that you do. Plug them away.
Thank you very much. And it's actually 3.
3? Jesus.
Yep. Mags, you can find me on Twitter at DAJ Kirby. I'm usually in some sort of Twitter argument or debate about wrestling. I think 99% of my tweets are wrestling based. I have a podcast called Why We Watch, where I talk to wrestling fans and content creators about why they love wrestling and what makes them feel the need to put their content out there. I've got a podcast called 5 Rounds where I break down and review UFC events, and then I have a podcast on the Brainbuster Radio called Badlands with my tag team partner Paul Toller, and we go over the Mount Rushmores of wrestling. Every week we'll have a different topic. For example, we've had the Mount Rushmore of masked wrestlers, we've had the Mount Rushmore of champions of the 2010s. So yeah, go and check out my stuff. I just like to bring a bit of fun back into wrestling, and yeah, go and have a listen. Let me know what you think.
I mean, I really have to endorse. Why We Watch is great, but Badlands, just the gimmick of it is great. I don't think anybody else does it. Not that I know of. I just love the whole. I mean, I've always loved the concept of a Mount Rushmore, but the amount of topics you guys throw together for it, like you said, like the Rushmore of masked wrestlers, gimmicks, all that kind of stuff. It's a really, really good concept, and I fully endorse that podcast and Why We Watch. I mean, I didn't even know you did a UFC podcast.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a labour of love with me and my son Carlos. We've been lifelong UFC fans, and it was just when I started doing a podcast about wrestling that I had all the equipment, and we just decided to shoot the shit about UFC, and it turned into a podcast.
I mean, so guys, if you like watching people hit each other in the face, real or not, Mags has got you covered.
Exactly.
But no, thank you very much for coming on. I would love to have you back on here again, of course.
Absolutely, anytime, and I'm sure we'll be hearing your dulcet tones on some of my past in the very, very near future.
Yeah, everybody cannot get enough of my monotonous tones. It's just one of those voices that puts you to sleep.
Absolutely not. I think I'm quite a relatively new listener to Dits on Wrestling, but it's quickly become one of the really my go-to podcasts. And Dits versus Josh, wow, what a concept that is! I think that's absolutely brilliant, and I think you guys are doing so well with it.
Oh, thank you very much. I think it helps that I beat Josh every single week as well.
Well, I'm hashtag Team Dits.
I love that. Now, I'm actually going to sign off with this. And I hope I do Wilf proud. I don't know if he listens to this, but I hope I do him proud. I will cut this and I will put it on my Twitter promotion for this. But I'm going to say that has been the motivated and confident Mags. How was that? Is that good?
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, somebody will pop at that. Somebody listening will go, ah. And hopefully it's Wilf. But no, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Absolutely not a problem anytime at all.
Well, that was a lot of fun. That's the first time me and Mags have talked at length about wrestling. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I hope you guys did as well. That was our SummerSlam predictions, and yes, the card is unbelievably stacked. But we do have some time for Q&A. I got some questions this week, which is always nice. It's always nice to have some questions. So Anthony Leonhardt asked, what do you think about people who already have DVDs on their short career / matches, in contrast to some great names in the business who desperately have only one or none? So, I mean, to be honest, my thoughts are, I don't think DVDs matter anymore. Back in the day when it was tapes, and when DVDs had just come in, more so before the network existed. That's the key thing here. Before the network existed, I think it would have been a big deal for, say, just imagine, like, I don't know, say No Way Jose got a DVD, but then Roman Reigns didn't. I think that's kind of what you're. I mean, obviously it's not them too, but I think that's kind of what you're going with. But I don't think it's really an issue now. I believe The Miz has got a DVD coming out, which is well deserved. I mean, he's had a hell of a career in WWE now, so kudos to him. But ultimately, I don't think it really matters because you do have the network and you do have access to so much content of each and every single wrestler, on the roster. But the only thing the DVDs can add is that kind of documentary side of things. But you'd like to hope that at some point these DVDs will end up on the network anyway. So yeah, I mean, if there's no network, in existence, I would say it's a little odd that somebody, down the pecking order would get the nod against the bigger name. But yeah, with the network, don't think it really matters all that much. Ringside Rant asked, who is the most underrated man and woman wrestler in all of wrestling? Oh my. So, I mean, the men's side of thing, I think is really easy for me. I'm going with Christian. I do genuinely think he's underrated. But I think he's slowly getting to that point now where everybody is kind of jumping on that bandwagon saying, you know what, Christian actually is underrated. He's actually really, really good, to a point where he's not going to be underrated anymore. So if that was the case, I would then move on to Sheamus as my backup choice, because I think Sheamus is incredibly underrated as well. But with regards to the women, that is hard. You know what? I'm actually going to say Mickie James. I think that, I don't think she got all the credit that she deserved. I mean, I thought she was really, really good in her original run, and she can still go. She was great in TNA or Impact, and she has been good since coming back to WWE as well. But there just doesn't seem to be any fanfare. And I'm only saying Mickie James because it's just fresh in my mind because I've read something about her, a couple of days ago. But I'd go with Mickie James. But I know for a fact there's a lot of underrated women. Jazz is definitely one. Ivory, another one. Victoria. I mean, there's so many. But Mickie James is the one that comes straight to mind. The brokenbutglorious.com podcast, interviews and news. They asked thoughts on MLW's partnership with Noah. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't really know much about this, but I know what MLW is, and I know what Noah is, and I know putting those two together, it's going to be great. I mean, you look at AEW maybe partnering with New Japan, how lucrative that will be, them sharing those rosters. But then MLW working with Noah, another great company out there in Japan. It's not going to be bad. It can only be a good outcome, especially with MLW starting to really, really break some ground at the moment. A lot of people are saying it's exceeding Ring of Honor, and I've seen 2 MLW shows, and I really, really enjoyed them. And I haven't watched Ring of Honor for a very, very long time, so I couldn't really comment if it's gone past Ring of Honor, but it's certainly up there. So I think it's only fair game that they partner with somebody as established as Noah. So fair play to them. And that is it for the questions this week. I actually thought there was a 4th question, but yeah, maybe I'm going a little mad and saw something that that doesn't actually exist. But those are the questions this week. So thank you for supplying those. Get them back in next week. And I love wrestling questions, of course I do. But you can ask me anything. I've been asked about Mario Party. I've been asked about Friends and David Brent. Ask me anything. I'm game to answer. That's the whole point. Get to know me. But that is all we have time for this week. I mean, this was the longest episode that I've ever done on the show so far. But it's SummerSlam. We can justify it. Thank you very much for listening. As always, I always appreciate you guys, taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble on about wrestling. And not just me now. I get guests too, so I'm sure they appreciate it as well. You can find me on social media. Dits on Wrestling on both Twitter and Instagram. Over on YouTube, Dits on Wrestling there as well. How original. And then, of course, the actual podcast itself. I mean, you're listening to it, so you found it. But it is available Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Spreaker. It's everywhere. Google Podcast as well, apparently now, also has it, which I didn't know until about 2 days ago. So there you go. It's available on Google Podcasts now as well. Hey, great weekend of wrestling coming up. Let's just enjoy it. Switch your minds off. Just watch it. Just don't worry about what's going on social media. Just sit back, watch it, and we'll all have a bloody good time. But that's it for me this week.
Haha, guess you were wrong, Boris. This is very wrong. Where is that button? Haha, can't find it, huh? This is no good. I do not like you. You chant what at the arena. You do so many things that I hate so bad. Haha, well, guess what, Dits on Wrestling? We'll be back next week. Haha.